I just spent 4 hours playtesting Dragma Invoked versus the FTK, OTK thing with rockets. You guys remember that beautiful thing. So we're going to talk about my cycle analysis of this. I actually have, I think, 1/4 of the playtesting filmed. We sat here for like 2 hours going back at it, and I was like, well, you know, like, let's break this up and go about this. So, yeah, match semantics. Something we don't do a lot of, but let's dig on into this, shall we? Alright, so what's going on in the Dragma Invoke deck versus this matchup? So I just want to point out that we didn't side. We just straight played game ones. Now, a little sub note here for those of you that like to playtest. We'll cover a little bit about playtesting methods and things. Yeah, the Patrick Hoban 70 hours a week playtesting method, it doesn't actually happen like that. So, Dragma versus the Rocket FTK. So, Rocket FTK is extender after extender after extender. Alright? One big thing that Dragma has going for it, at least my build. Somebody made a comment the other day, they were like, I don't like your ratios, Robbie. Something about Max C not being in the format, I'm like, that doesn't matter. Like, I would still be playing Ashes and the Effect Veilers. Like, that doesn't change. So, I mean, we have 8 active hand traps in the deck, plus the Fleur de Lis if we have the, what's it called? Plus I'm playing a more control variant. The one thing that Dragma has going for it is the deck is 1-card engines. Alright, like, 1 card starts your entire invoked combo. You have infinite 1-card combo starters for Dragma. Alright, so it's just, do you see 2 of those starters in your hand? Then you're good to go. And then I just filled it in with control stuff. You guys have seen the deck profile. You guys know what I'm talking about. So, overall, in your matchups. So, majority of the best hands, I think we opened up tonight. We usually had Mekaba, plus Fleur de Lis, plus some sort of back row. Now, the thing is, Rocket, Dragon, FTK, OTK, I don't even know what to call this. We're going to call it Rocket Link. Alright? It goes vroom vroom. Typically, the way it was looking tonight, typically going after the needle fiber is probably the best thing. You also have to remember, like, I was kind of imperming in like weird places to kind of see where he could still extend, because I'm still kind of curious myself in the matchups. Hitting the Striker Dragon on the normal, you know, while they're searching for their other extender, that's the biggest thing I don't think people really get about the Rocket deck, is their normal summon turns on into another extender. And then that extender grants more extenders. Now, logically here, if you stop their guy from extending, if they have another extender, well, then they continue to climb up the ladder. Now, the extender searches into the extender, which gives more extenders. This is such a headache to explain. Morty, like, okay, so Striker Dragon plus Boot Sector Launch to special still climbs up full combo. So technically, if you stop that, they have to have another extender already in hand. Alright, now, once they can extend beyond that, they go into Romulus, search into another extender, and then the Holly Fibrex shows up. Now, typically when they're doing all of this, you will usually see the Herald show up. And that's like the big thing is, if you wait too long to do a hand trap, they're going to start putting up anti-stuff. Alright, so as soon as the Herald appears on the field, you're like, okay, alright, so now I'm going to have to deal with this. And then at other stages in the combo, you're just like, well, you know, when is too late to stop this? And then, of course, you know, to a lesser degree, you do have to deal with Called by the Grave. Not always will they have Called by the Grave, but if you open up like a single hand trap against this deck, Effect Veiler, things like that, you're going to be in a bad position. Now, this is actually where like the Nibiru comes in clutch. But the problem is the Herald counteracts the Nibiru. So a couple of things that you can do. You can try to bait the... If you open up 2 hand traps, one of which is a Nibiru, one of them is the actual... Oh man, the craziness. An Ash. Alright, so if you can use the Ash to get the Herald off of the field, and then you can Nibiru them, you should be in a good position. Now, good thing about this matchup, especially with hand traps here, Phantasme is not bad against the matchup, but you're going to have to use Mr. Phantasmate in the same way that we'd be using Max T. You're like, what do you mean, Robbie? I typically would be using Max C to draw into my other hand traps for this matchup. The craziness is if you could draw Max C into Nibiru, that's never going to happen. But if you can, Phanta Sculpt into another hand trap or something not named Infinite Impermanence, because it's not doing anything, it honestly kind of carries you on in that matchup. So that's kind of like the weird point of like this matchup is like, if you could technically sculpt out all of the hand traps in the world, you'll be in a good position. But typically, I've pretty much found that going first is pretty much the best thing to beat the deck. Weird, right? So the deck has, I think the best board we put up today was 4, maybe 5, because we had the Fleur de Lis, we had the Macabre, and we had Double Solemn and Rook. Oh, by the way, for those of you that live in a mystical land of just Confusedville, you're like, I don't know what's going on here. Making this card against them, whenever you can see Maximus, alright, I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, I'm not going to play Maximus. Anytime that you can make a window on your opponent, you win the game. Alright, like, I'm not going to sit here and, like, sugarcoat this for you. Rocket, FTK, OTK, straight loses to Winda. Alright, like, Winda plus good cards backing it is pretty much a GG. Like, you just wash your hands and go GG next. Alright. It's actually absurd. Now, the Fleur de Lis is negating the Halifibrax came up a lot. I guess trying to stop all of the extenders was pretty important. Also, ashing the Chaos space. Yeah, the spell card that searches. I'm indifferent about this. So, letting that resolve does get them the White Dragon, which basically will be able to climb out into other things at this stage. And the White Dragon will replace itself. So basically by allowing the Chaos space to go off, you're allowing two extenders to typically see play. So that's a decision that you're going to have to make there. If you're allowing the Chaos space to go off, that's 2 extensions that they can do. Also, if they've got the Halifibrax established, then you're going to have to understand that Pisty LP can come up at this stage too. So things you got to understand for 500. You're like, well, stopping the Chaos base shuts off 2 extenders, and if they have more, they can keep going. Especially, if they can trigger the Lavanier to do a Monster Reborn or something crazy like that. It really just depends on the overall setup and things. Overall, I think about, what was it? I think we played 6-7 matches. Every match went to Game 3. There was no quick 2-0, which is actually relatively surprising. I dropped 1 game going first out of all of the sets. Alright, which statistically, that's really good. Alright, every game I went second, I lost. He didn't brick at all. Even though him going first, typically you would think, oh man, there might be a brick in there. No, man. It was consistent all the way around in terms of playtesting. And like I said, I only dropped the game because, well, dead drawing, invocation, and all that other fun, fancy stuff, it happens. Right? Like, it's the cost. Like, I can't control variance in that degree, but Dragma should all invoked in terms of general consistency and just plowing through game 1s and testing it's very important. And this is a sub-note to this here. Testing through game 1s is not a bad thing. Alright, you get feels for other things. Side decking is an entirely different creature. And once you fundamentally have, your game 1s down, and you're seeing what your deck can do in going first mode versus like breaking boards and other things like that, then you can go to those other things. You have to understand, perfecting Yu-Gi-Oh! Game 1s, Game 2s, and Game 3s, they are all different stages of the game. And interestingly enough, every mode is different. You've got cards for going second, you have cards for going first. Alright? And that's where those games 2s and 3s come in, because your deck is not the same as game 1. Hypothetically, alright, like, some people go back to the other mode. It really just depends on how things are opening and how the duel is playing out for the most part. So, advice from an old fossil for some playtesting, because my friend came over and was like, hey, I've been looking for somebody just to playtest this with. I'm like, well, I don't want to play Eldritch against this, so let's shuffle up Dragma Invoked and give it a whirl. And it was very interesting nonetheless. So guys, please leave a comment down below, tell me what you guys think. Boring blah 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 data stuff. Alright guys, I'm out. Peace. Thank you, patrons, for making the ride never truly end. Without you guys' support, well, I would probably be doing Truffle Shuffle videos for a living. Guys, please check out VanCall40 for all of your Cardfight Vanguard content brought to you by MCall40. And if you are looking to pick up singles, check out mcallgames.com for your trading card game needs. Thanks for watching, everybody.